This then brings us to the third and final part of section 2 of the Beef Cattle Breeding Limited online lectures. This part will mainly focus on reports that's available to breeders and buyers of livestock from seed stock producers or from the stud industry that's made available through Studbook. Studbook is basically responsible for the genetic evaluations of 26 beef cattle breeds in South Africa and elsewhere. So some of the breeds will have breeders in South Africa, but also in countries like Botswana, Namibia, the rest of Africa, South America and elsewhere. For most of the breeds nowadays, we do genetic evaluations once a month, towards the end of the month usually, and for some other breeds 4 times a year, namely February, May, August and November of each year. These breeding values are being put available for the individual breeders and for the general users of the systems on one of our websites, logix.org.za, where the breeder can download the information of individual animals, but also a genetic report for his whole herd. We also interact on these platforms with farm software that the breeder might be using on his farm PC or notebook or even other device, and these values are also then available in a comma separated values format or in a PDF report that the breeder can print on the farm. This is an example of a sales catalog that's been used by Studbook. Each of the breed societies have their own choice of the type of or the information that is made available on a sales catalog. So this is just one example, and obviously it's not necessarily a Bonsmara example. I've just used a Bonsmara animal on this, let's call it the generic catalog format that's available from SA Studbook. So a lot of information is then made available to breeders and buyers of animals on this type of catalog. You will remember that we talked about the selection values. So the components of profit, as I can call it, in terms of cow value and so forth, are being set out on this catalog. Here, for example, you have the sub value for calving ears with the star rating. This animal, for example, is a 3.5 star with a breeding value index of 118 with a 68% accuracy attached to that value. And you can see the two components that contributes to calving ears is basically the two traits, birth weight and birth maternal, that contributes to calving ears. The same with milk, 2.5 star, 97 index, calf growth 3 star, 107 index, maintenance, cow maintenance, post-weaning weight and mature weight, and obviously like I have mentioned earlier, milk also contributes to the maintenance component. A cow that gives a lot of milk has higher maintenance requirements, so in this case also a 2.5 star, 96, very close to average. And then the fertility component, age at first calving and intercalving period or calving interval, contributing to the 3 stars on this, and also scrotum circumference. So that obviously then contribute to our profit in breeding cows, or rands per hectare. So in this case, this animal has a 3.5 star with 114 and a 2% accuracy attached to its cow value. So obviously 14 index points better than the breed in terms of profitability. Equally important then is the growth value, that and these values here in the middle, average daily gain, the Kleiber ratio and feed conversion ratios are all contributing factors towards the growth value. In this case, this animal is 121, which gives it a 4 star with a 44% accuracy, and this is individual the individual genetic value for this animal in terms of profit, for growth and growth efficiency. And then also the profit in the rest of the value chain, the production value. So this is a 3.5 star animal with 117 index points and a 50% accuracy linked to that. Important part, you would have noticed there's a QR code in the middle of the sales catalog, so it enables somebody with a device such as a cell phone or a tablet to scan in the IR code, and it will take that person directly to the website sabeefpools.com, where more information is available about this animal and also the pedigree of this animal. This can then be utilized by any prospective buyer to make a decision as to whether this animal will be suitable for breeding replacements in a herd. So here you can see, and this is from the website sabeefpools.com. Selection values are available, the cow value, growth, production value, and all the others that we have mentioned. It's just depicted in a graphical format, which is easy to read and easy to interpret. And all the other traits are also available in a graphic format, and also the actual breeding value. So in this case, birth weight, for example, minus 0.48 kilograms with a 74% accuracy attached to it, and so forth. So very detailed information, even some of the ratios like birth weight to cow weight ratio, breeding value attached to that, residual gain, residual feed intake, residual feed utilization, marbling, RTU, subcutaneous fat thickness, the length to height ratio, which somebody could maybe consider in a selection process, and also the so-called cow efficiency, cow to calf ratio, breeding value for that as well. So just about all traits and properties that somebody could consider in a selection program is available on sabeefpools.com, and it's possible for the prospective buyer or the somebody that wants to select animals to make use of these values available. Also of importance is, as per default, the 3-generation pedigree that's available, and these would be clickable links on the website, so you can actually carry on in terms of the pedigree information, and you can also request from the system up to 10 pedigree information, especially where you have high levels of inbreeding and you want to follow the paths. What's causing that high inbreeding? The little blue blocks would be the males, and the pink blocks would be the females in the pedigree tree of the specific animal. Also, in terms of the stability of breeding values, it's also possible for a user to check the stability of the breeding values. So the blue line is and each of these little dots would be a different genetic evaluation being done on this animal, and the orange or the yellow line is the accuracy associated with this breeding value. In this case, it's wean, maternal, or milk breeding value, and you will see that as soon as the accuracy went up, it also stabilized, or the predictions also stabilized for this specific trait. So a lot of information available on sabeefpools.com, and it's easy. If you have the QR code, you can just sort of scan it with your cell phone, and it will take you directly to the site of a specific animal. Obviously, also then in the end, the star ratings of the animal. So these is just a derivative of the values here on the top left hand side, just sort of expressed in terms of stars of this animal. Each farmer also receives a total herd analysis in terms of a genetic report for his or her herd for every genetic evaluation. So he or she receives an email with a clickable link in it, and you can this report can then be downloaded from the Logix website. And this is then the average of the whole herd, all the animals in the herd. The 100 line is then the breed average or of the active animals for a specific trait or property, and these bars depict the average values in the herd. So for birth weight, for example, you can see that this herd is somewhere between 90 and 100. So let's say 95, meaning that the genetic merit or average genetic merit of the animals in this herd will result in heavier calves at birth compared to the rest of the breed. Weaning weight way over 110, meaning heavier weaning weights. Milk just on average, post-weaning weight, mature weight, average daily gain, feed conversion, scrotum circumference, height, and so there's body length and height, heifer fertility, cow fertility, dressing percentage, red meat yield, marbling, and then the components contributing to cow value. There's cow value, there's the 5 components, the growth value and the production value. So at a glance, and we call this a genetic window, at a glance, by looking at this genetic window, the owner of these animals can actually see where his herd fits into the rest of the breed, where's his weak points, where's his strong points in the herd. This is also divided, these genetic windows are also divided up in groups of animals. These are the size of the young animals, and you can immediately see whether he's made the right decision in terms of the buying in of bulls or keeping bulls in his herd. These are the bull calves that's been born, young bull calves, young heifer calves, and then also the old ladies in the herd. What do they look like? Those that survived the selection process and are the good survivors in the herd. What are their average breeding values in the herd? So it's possible for any user of the system to make clear decisions as to where the goals should be adapted and what traits and properties should be included in breeding objectives. With this genetic report, there's obviously also lists of animals. This is just genetic merit lists, and here you have each 2 lines would be 1 animal. You have these lists, and here you see the selection values. There's the cow value, the growth value, and the production value. These are the contributing factors to cow value. These grey ones are close to the average or above average values for that, and then the individual traits. And here you can see these carcass traits, frame traits, fertility traits, growth and efficiency traits, mothering ability traits, and weight traits. So and then also a little bit of extra information in terms of especially bulls, how many progeny are already being recorded, and for these different traits. So, and that would obviously be related to the accuracy of prediction of the specific traits breeding values. There's also some selection lists that's available for the user. In this case, these lists were ranked on cow value. So these would all be of some of the 4-star animals, and you can see that the contributing factors to cow value is being listed, but also with the growth value and the production value available to also utilize. So you can have animals with the same cow value, but obviously there could be differences on how an animal achieved this 4-star rating in terms of cow value. So it makes life easier in terms of picking the right or the suitable candidates as parents for the next generation. Okay, so just a quick recap. We have talked about the selection indices or the selection values. The cow value is basically a feature of a genetic merit of animals ranked according to their profit per hectare. Please note genetic value, so it's how they will breed. It's not necessarily how they are in terms of the phenotype or the recording of the animal. It's being reflected in terms of progeny performance relative to the progeny performance of other animals. Those progeny will then be the ones generally that calves early in the season, calves regularly, is easy, calves easily. They have adequate milk flow for their progeny to raise their progeny well. Their progeny will have a acceptable growth rate. They are low maintenance, meaning that they don't need so much energy for themselves, and they can actually convert that energy into productive energy, and they have a long productive life. So generally those animals will be more profitable per hectare. So in terms of your inputs that needs to go into the system, those would be your more profitable animals. And then in terms of profitability or the logic's growth rate, it's more about the production chain. You know, once an animal leaves the farm or where you finish your own animals, it's all about the growth rate of those animals. Growth rates also has an economic value because the investment in buying in a calf, if you're a feedlot, if it stays there too long and it doesn't really perform in terms of growth, then you lose out on the interest of having to buy that animal. The feed intake, the less it can take in terms of a high growth rate, the better. The start and the end weight. The start weight obviously reflects in what you pay for a calf. The heavier it is in the beginning, the more you pay. If the price per kilo is the same. And the end weight obviously has a reflection on what you get in terms of the carcass being sold. So that's a profit per animal, and then there's also a combination of these two values in terms of the production chain, which we call the production value. So that's profit in the whole chain. So in conclusion, we aim to breed animals that are adapted and profitable in terms of the environmental constraints and also the production system that we farm in. And there's absolutely no shortcuts in terms of measurement and recording and objective recording. You first have to define the traits very well. A poor definition of a trait doesn't help anybody in terms of genetic merit prediction. Then it needs to be recorded well. You have to record within the contemporary groups. You have to level the playing field in terms of animals that need to compete, in terms of the traits that are important. And you must use that data or the outcome of that data to breed a new generation of animals that will outperform the current generation. So there are some minimum measurements that I think it could not be an excuse for anybody breeding animals that would not at least record the pedigrees in such a degree that you can use that in terms of your genetic merit predictions. You have to obviously record the birth date, and by recording the birth dates you immediately have access to the female fertility. The ultimate would be that you have mating lists, and you also have culling reasons being recorded. So that is also really a requirement to enable you to do a good job. And then if you have to do one weight, or once a year if you have a limited breeding season, you have to weigh the calf and the cow when you wean the calf. And by doing that, you have your maternal ability being recorded. That's milk. You have your cow weight recorded, and that will give you a very, very good indication in terms of maintenance requirements. And if you have the milk breeding values from the weaning weight, it also gives you a very good indication of mothering ability, but also the maintenance requirements of your female. So to me, that would be an absolute minimum for anybody that would like to call him or herself as the breeder of livestock. So we basically came to the very full circle. The first component in the circle would be genetic merit or trait definition, the recordings of those traits objectively, the model specification. If you work with blood breeding values, obviously that is extremely important part as the model specification. You have to calculate or estimate the variance and covariance components, the additive variance, the heritability, the genetic correlations amongst those traits, how they interact. You obviously cannot predict breeding values or the genetic merit without that information, and we also know it's population specific, so the Herefords in South Africa will not necessarily be the same as those in the US, and you have to by time and again you have to revise that as well. Your mixed model applications, mixed models, because you have random and fixed effects, you have environmental effects, but you also have additive genetic effects in these models, and you need to reflect that. If you have developed the genomic, the incorporation of genomic information in your predictions, obviously that also includes the incorporation of that genomic information in that. Obviously, we kicked off in South Africa with the single-step genomic information being or processes being followed, and methodology that's made available for some of the beef breeds. Okay, so that genetic merit then is the first cornerstone of this full circle. The second one then is drafting of selection indices, and obviously there you have to know what the variance and covariant structure is. You have to know what the impact would be if you include a trait in your selection index. How will it actually change, genetically change the progeny for another trait? And that other trait might be economically more important than the first trait. So you have to be very careful how you actually draft those selection indices. The payment system is very important. So obviously you have to take in consideration when you draft the selection index what the payment system is, how much is being paid for a certain weight of animal, a certain quality of animal, what is the cost of keeping a cow that did not calve for a year or calve late in the season, resulting in a lighter calf being weaned. All that needs to be considered when a selection index like the cow value is being drafted, and for that you have to have very accurate simulation models to enable you to do that. We've also found that a combined index is a good thing, but you also need the sub-indices like the ones that I've shown you in terms of cow fertility and or female fertility, maternal ability, growth rate, calving years, longevity, and maintenance requirements. Those sub-indices or ERTs are very important also when using a combined index, so that you know exactly if you have two animals with the same combined index, same cow value, how did they get there? Was the one through fertility? Was the other one through low calf weights? Actually, or how did they contribute to that? And then obviously you have to use these mixed model equations in your genetic merit predictions, and then combine them in the selection indices. And then the third part obviously is optimal matings. These lectures did not dwell too much on sabeefpools.com, but sabeefpools.com gives you an opportunity to actually go and seek for animals that conform to your selection or your breeding objectives, and to actually then do mock matings on your females in your herd, also the selection of your females first, and then mock matings on that, and to see what the outcome would be in terms of genetic diversity, the inbreeding coefficients, and also achievement of the breeding objectives for that. So basically then with this last slide we've come to the full circle, and we dealt with the most important aspects of beef cattle breeding, especially then how Studbook does it and how it's done in South Africa. This then brings us to the end of our limited online lectures, section 2, or the final section, and the end of obviously the end of part 3. Thank you very much for your attention.